Good afternoon, everybody out there. I hope you all had a good Thanksgiving. For those of you out there that celebrate it, we've got some exciting announcements for you. Before we go further, though, I wanted to let you all know that just because of the holiday and just because of some unforeseen things that happened, the website, Athearn.com, it's not going to be updated until early next week. So I apologize for that, but hey, we've got some great announcements to go over with you today, and looking forward to going through these because a lot of these I know you're going to be excited to hear about. So let's see who's joining us out there today. Let's see. I have Brady, Joel, Anthony, Robert, Mr. Derek Glass is in the house, Walter, Ian, Michael, Joel. No, Joel, it's not Nacho Friday. I think it's Pizza Friday. Let's see. We have Late Night Model Railroad, Tate, Jake here, David, Zachary, and Chris and Matthew. So, hey, thanks for coming on board with me. Yes, you are right. I am in the office, not in the studio. And reason being is because, well, it's a great day to do some model railroading because many of you guys are probably off from work this week, or if you're have the day off. Hopefully I'm being played in the workshop while you're working on your railroad layout or one of your models. So without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's put the modeling knife down and get in a comfortable spot and grab the beverage of your choice, and let's get started. So we are starting off with some SD70s, and we're doing a range of them. But the first one, the big news, of course, is the Union Pacific We Are One SD70. This is one that was just painted about back in June, and we'll go into more detail on this locomotive in the coming weeks. But this is brand new for us. It's brand new for the UP, and you know, briefly, it's celebrating the diversity of its employees that work for UP, which is a nice gesture. You know, it's a neat paint scheme, and it was highly requested. So we figured, you know what, let's go ahead. Let's do that. And so a lot of guys are real excited about this. Again, we'll get into the history of this locomotive and why it came about in probably the next Train Tuesday coming up the last Tuesday of November. So there we go. So that's our special one. Here's a great picture, full scale picture, sent in by Shane Mason, and really cool. All right, and we are also doing a couple of versions of the Union Pacific standard paint schemes. We've got the earlier 2000, the red sills. You guys, you UP fans, you guys are always asking for both red sill and yellow sills. So we figured, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and help you both out. So we've got the early 2000s era with the red stripe, and we've got the later, more current. Now, this SD70M right here, this is a rather special unit. If you've got the big boy, if you ordered the 4014 this past year, you might want to pick one of these up. This is the locomotive that ran with the big boy, kind of a support mechanism, if you will. Little subtle differences on that, like the anti-glare green on the nose. And, of course, yellow sill because it's 2021. So we've got two versions of the SD70Ms here. We didn't stop there. We had to do Canadian National. We had to do Norfolk Southern because, again, these two roads, we continue to get a lot of feedback on these. Canadian National fans, here you are. Now, these are different. These are SD75Is. They have the insulated cabs. That's per the Canadian National orders. And the interesting thing about these, and we're going to talk about that railroad here in a little bit, but they kind of have a connection to here in Champaign, because when CN first took over IC, these were brand new locomotives. And so you would see some lettered for IC as well, even though they're in this corporate paint scheme. Now, the Norfolk Southern, these are early 2000 models. These are still Spartan cabs. These were just the SD70 Spartan cabs. Again, a lot of you guys have been asking for these. So it was time to run these out for you and give you exactly what you're looking for. These, like I said, this is going to be early 2000s. And I forgot to mention the Canadian Nationals. These are 1997 era. So if you're a fan of the late 90s, early 2000s Canadian National, we've got something for you. So you remember I was talking about Illinois Central just a little bit ago? So I'm real excited about these, and we're going to talk about these real briefly. These are part of our legendary liveries. Now, one of the things about legendary liveries, they are sometimes based on paint schemes that could have happened. Yes, the Illinois Central did have SD70s. However, by the time the SD70s were on the property, they had gone with the Death Star paint scheme. So the Illinois Central Gulf and, of course, the original Green Diamond paint scheme were long gone by the time they were on the premises. But it's always fun to think, what would happen if IC had stayed intact? What if CN hadn't purchased them? What if they had done a heritage unit like some other railroads have done? Or, what if they had just simply stayed Illinois Central Gulf? Would that orange and white continue on the SD70s? I, for one, since I'm a fan of the ICG days, I think the SD70 looks really well with the orange and white. So we didn't stop there with our legendary liveries. We also did the Rio Grande, and we'll talk a little bit about these legendary liveries and how they could have happened. Now, we also know that there are a lot of folks out there that model railroads that may have not have merged. There's folks out there that model Conrail in modern day, or Burlington Northern, or Santa Fe. And so we're offering these for you folks that want to update your fleet a little bit with a non-merged or non-purchased company. And so the Rio Grande was a natural fit. Now, these are all Genesis. They will be available for pre-order. You've got all the way until after Christmas, Friday the 31st of December, to pre-order these. Now, once again, I will scroll through here a little bit and see if anybody has any questions. I know a lot of this is new for you guys because we did not have them on the website this morning, but we'll be getting to that early in the early next week. All right, just kind of looking through the comments here. Corey's looking for a GP30. I understand. That's one of my favorites too. All right. Here we go. SP Scotty says, ooh, that's what I requested a while back. Throwback IC colors on the SD70. So see, again, if you have sent in a product suggestion through our product suggestion email, we are listening. And again, we want to make products that you guys want to run on your railroad. So we like to hear that. We like to hear that we're hitting the marks. Let's see what else we've got for comments on the SD70s. A lot of people are excited about the Norfolk Southern too. And again, that's a road that continually does well. So we're going to keep making them as long as you guys are wanting those roads. That's exactly what we're going to do. All right, so moving right along, and like I said, everything that we talk about here today, we're gonna talk in detail next coming few weeks. So let's see. I think the next thing we've got is another Genesis item. Yep, it is. It's the Genesis HO scale bay window caboose. Now we've got some really interesting road names here, and we've also got some very interesting variations on these. These, of course, you can get with or without sound. They do come with either a sound-equipped DCC decoder, or you can get the non-sound decoder, which is an NCE decoder. That gives you some lighting functions that you wouldn't have on a normal, a regular caboose, say as a ready-to-roll caboose. Let's see. So we're starting out here at the top, mid-1980s era. SP fans rejoice. Here's your caboose. And what's really cool is in the 1990s, the SP, like a lot of railroads and a lot of freight shippers, were experiencing some issues with theft. So the SP took some of their cabooses here and they painted them up for the railroad police, just to kind of monitor the situation. And we have offered these in the past in different brands under the Athearn name, but they continue to do really well. So we wanted to bring them into the Genesis line and offer them to you guys. Really cool. Check out the RV style air conditioner these have. Subtle details like that that the developers are putting into work for these. Now, this is not a legendary livery. This is actually based on a prototype. It was the only one painted like this, but we all know about the Kodachrome, and one of these bay window cabooses actually made it into the Kodachrome. But the only one, as far as our researchers could find, that actually got painted into that paint scheme. So it is accurate. There is proof that it existed. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on which side of the road you stand, the merger never happened. Here's one that you don't see very often, the Williamette and Pacific. And again, all of these are going to be available with DCC and lights, or just standard DCC sound and lights. So the lighting functions on these are what's really sets them apart. And if you're into operations, especially if you're doing branch line or even industrial, don't forget, a lot of railroads use these as shoving platforms. And that's why with the sound, they do have air horns on them. So if you're doing an operations with one of these, it really adds to the, the effect of that type of operations. Last but not least, we've got two more. We've got the Western Pacific. This is 1980s era, and the Union Pacific, based on a Southern Pacific caboose. We were talking about the shoving platforms. And it's not all unusual to see something like this on a large industrial or even a branch line operation. Here in Champaign, we quite often see CN running on what was once the Illinois Terminal and parts of the old Illinois Central. And they have an old Illinois Central caboose that they're using as a shoving platform, complete with horns. And it's, as you well know, there's sometimes miles that these trains have to traverse backwards, if you will, shoving the cars to its industry. And just for safety reasons, it's better to have a shoving platform on there. It's also a place for the crew to safely be on the train without hanging onto the handrails of a boxcar for miles on end. So this is a safer procedure, and they're still seen. So if you do operations, especially if you're doing UP, and we're talking 2000s here. This isn't the 80s. It's not even the 90s. This is 2019 and on. You might want to consider this. So Wesley, he's happy with that. He says, now we need to do some BNSF former Santa Fe or BN wide visions. Yeah, we've done some of those. The ones that we did announce last year, we did do some wide visions. They were predominantly BN former CB&Q. But again, a lot of those lived on. Some of them are still found occasionally in the wild. All right. Just looking through the comments, because like I said, when I flip screens like that, I don't always see you guys. So just want to make sure. And Gilbert, I see a question there. We're going to get into that more on a Train Tuesday. Every Train Tuesday, we look at each one of these items. We dig into them a little bit more. So we'll talk more about that. It's an interesting story. All right, so let's go to our next item. So you guys have been asking for flat cars. Not only have you been asking for flat cars, but you've been asking for trailers. So we've done something a little different here. I'm going to zoom in here so you guys can see we're offering the TTX trailer train flat cars. These are the F89F flat cars. We're offering them in 3 different eras. So we zoom in. We're offering the 1960s in the original trailer train name and corporate colors. Then we're offering them in the TTX yellow that came out in the 1970s. We're offering those. Again, these are all offered in 4 different road numbers. So it's real easy for you to complete a fleet of these. We've got 2 offerings in the 1970s era, and then we jump up to the 1990s. So these things, they've been around for a long time. It's hard to believe. A lot of us probably think these are relatively modern cars. Now, they've actually been around for a while, and we'll talk a little bit about that in the next coming weeks. Also, we're offering these with a 40-foot trailer, and we've got some cool names here. We've got the Railco on the top. For you guys in the late 60s, early 70s, we've got the Penn Central with the Friendly Worm logo. Late 70s, you've got the Rock, back when the Rock Island changed their look. And then for our other modelers in the 1970s, we've got the Mopac. We've got the Eagle logo on there. And so these are great. You can buy them either standalone or you can buy them with the trailer. And these are Genesis level. So these are going to have a lot of detail, a lot of the piping, a lot of the brake detail, all that's going to be there. You also have your choice of hitches, which are included with the model. I would agree. I kind of like the Rock. I didn't grow up anywhere near the Rock Island. It was long gone by the time I got out here, but I always thought that was a cool setup. Let's see, looking through some other comments. Rock Island one, yeah, a lot of you guys are looking for the Rock Island, so that's good. All right. All right, let's go on to the next item. Robert, yeah, you'll see your answer here shortly. I'll let the screen do its talking. So let me zoom out a little bit so we can scroll on through. So there's our Genesis offerings for the month. We've got some great Genesis stuff that we're offering. Now, a lot of you guys have been asking, hey, weren't you supposed to be doing something else too? Well, are you ready? I know you guys are going to be excited about this. Here it is. It's been a long time since we've offered this locomotive, and here it is. It is under the ready to roll line, the HO scale SW1500 locomotive. Now, here's what's cool about this. This has been updated. This is the first time ever that it's going to have LED lights, tsunami sound, and the motor and drivetrain has been updated. We realized there were some other ones out there that in the previous release, they had some issues. Our developers have gone through this and they have done a lot of updates. So it's a really exciting release. And I'm looking at the comments out here. Gilbert, not quite, but it's been pretty long. It's been a while. Joseph, you're going to probably have to wait just a little bit, but not too long. Don't worry. Yeah, so just looking at the comments, and people are pretty happy about these. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about these too. Now, if you're one of the guys like myself that has just a small switching layout, this is exactly what you're looking for. You get the great quality of a really nicely detailed locomotive with a great motor, great pulling, but you don't have to use a Jeep 7 or a Jeep 9. You can use one of these really nice switchers. So obviously we didn't do just Western Pacific. There are some road names here, and I'm seeing some of the comments, and I think a lot of you guys are going to be pretty happy with what we've got. But let's start with Western Pacific. We're offering this in 3 different road numbers. Now, one of the things that's exciting about this, and we've never done this before, not only is it coming with Tsunami 2, remember the old ones didn't have sound. This time, not only does it have the LED lights, but it's got ground lights, something we've never done with our switchers before. How about Wisconsin Central? I want to see the Wisconsin Central fans out here. This is an exciting road. Really glad to see this. This is 1990s, 2000s. This is after the Christmas tree paint scheme. We're doing 3 different road numbers with these. And again, it's been a while since not only we have done the SW1500, but in Wisconsin Central too. I think I saw somebody asking for Cotton Belt. Here you go. Cotton Belt received these obviously in the late 60s. 3 different road numbers, slightly different variations in the details than the previous 2 because again, these are Cotton Belt. We have the opportunity to make some differences based on the road name. Getting some good comments on the Wisconsin Central. I'm glad you guys are happy. We got a lot of comments on those, so you'll have to wait and see. You'll have to wait and see. All right, so I think somebody was asking for Conrail. Let's see. Yep, we've got Conrail. So these are based on 70s, 1980s. We've got the can opener paint scheme, if you will. And again, this is another one that, if you remember a few months back, we had a survey go out, and a lot of you responded to that survey, and these are based on those answers that we got in the survey. Some of the roads that we were going to offer didn't have as much traction as what you guys wanted, so we went with the roads that people were looking for. All right. Let's see what other roads we've got. We're not done yet. How about some Burlington Northern? Now these I'm excited about, you know, especially since I'm a Burlington Northern fan. We did these in the Cascade Green. These are the ones that they received in '73. These are not from the Frisco era. These are not the Frisco switchers. These are the original 1973 era. So this Cascade Green and type paint scheme was brand new. It was a new corporate image for the then new Burlington Northern. But what's really cool is we're going to have the operating Western coolant beacon on the cab. If you're a BN fan, you know exactly what that means. It's not your typical strobe. It's not your typical rotating beacon light. It's a light made up of 4 separate bulbs that flash in a sequence. And that's pretty cool that we're going to be having that detail on this locomotive. And again, you're going to have the LED lights. That beacon is going to be operating on the DCC versions. So I'm seeing a lot of comments out there. I'm going back to our main screen. And let's see. Remember we talked about the survey? And the survey actually kind of surprised a lot of us, myself included. A lot of you guys out there were asking, if we did this switcher again, is there any way you would do an undeck? So I wonder how many of you guys that asked for an undeck are out there right now. Because I've told you in the past why we don't do undeck, but it looks like we have enough of you guys out there that are willing to pick up the airbrush, pick up some decals, and do some painting. So we are happy to announce that we are doing 2 versions of the undecorated. This is the Southern Pacific version. And then we've got just the standard version that's undecorated. So if you've got a freelance road, or if you've got a road that we're not offering and you've got the pictures and the decals and the paint, here you go. Now it's been a long time since we've offered undecorated. But again, based on that survey, we had a lot of feedback on that, and hopefully you guys will be happy with those, because like I said, we haven't done undecorated in quite a while. So I'm looking through here. Anthony wants to know when the Conrail will be released. So like everything with the new announcements, everything that I'm announcing today, you have until the 31st of December to order from your dealer. Once they're ordered, it usually takes about 12 months. Once all the orders come in, the factory starts working on them, and they come back about a year from now. We're projecting next January these will be in stock. Now again, if you're new to the program and you're not sure how Athearn has done this in the past, one of the things I like to stress is if you see something you really like, you really want to pre-order it, because while we do order a little bit above the pre-orders, it's not usually enough for you to get time to get into the shop and grab that extra one, because usually once these come in, people are so happy with them, they either pick up more or they tell their buddies, and their buddy comes in and grabs the last one. Don't ask me how I know. So Jeremy, he's happy. There you go. And you know what? That gives you some time to do some research. Andrew, that's a good question. Let's see, where'd it go? There it is. Wow, you guys are fast today. I lost Andrew's question. Andrew wanted to know if the Wisconsin Central versions will have ditch lights. Not this run. I don't believe so. I'd have to get back to you, because again, we'll talk about these more in detail in the next coming weeks. But let's see. Let's just look real quick, because now you've got me curious. It was one of the things that we wanted to address. Yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to do that on this release, which is why those are lettered for early 90s. All right, somebody was asking earlier if we were going to do those 40 footers separately, and of course we are. These are under the ready to roll line, and just like we talked about earlier, we've got the Rock Island, we've got the Penn Central, we've got Missouri Pacific, and we've got Rilco. Now the trailers are offered in 2 road names each, and they're lettered and painted appropriately. You'll see the Penn Central and the Rilco, they actually have their ACI panels attached to them. Missouri Pacific and Rock Island are later in the 70s, when that was kind of falling out of favor with the railroads, so they do not include them. And I've said this many times before. The great thing about a trailer is you can use them on your F89F flat cars, you can use them with your semis, you can use them in your backgrounds. If you look behind me, my little layout's got a warehouse. I could have room for a trailer backed up to the warehouse. They're just great. You can use them wherever you want. It doesn't matter if you get a layout, module, what have you. And they really do help set the era for your layout. So if you're modeling the 60s and 70s, then you definitely want these kind of trailers. All right. Okay, so Joel's firing up at me. He's like, Jim's being a New Englander again. He says, Jim, slap my face. And in Oregon, and I still can't do it, so you can shoot me, Joel. Williamette is pronounced Will Aim It, not Willie. You're killing me. I don't mean to kill you. The only thing I killed was the gravy yesterday. So, yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those things where, depending on where you grew up, sometimes it's almost as bad as somebody from Illinois calling it Worcester. So I get you. All right, I'm looking to see if we've got any other comments on there. Yeah, no movie trains yet. All right, so it looks like we've got some pretty good comments on the switcher. Matt wants to know, is there any new end scale? Well, you're gonna have to hold on. There might be. We don't want to forget you guys. All right, so let's move on. So we've got here, we're doing some roundhouse locomotives, GP40-2s. We've got the Burlington Northern and the Cascade Green, the 1980s paint scheme, real common. We're doing the CSX and the YN3, or sometimes the rail fans call these, I don't know, how many of you guys have heard these called the Dark Future? When these first came out, I remember hearing a lot of guys up in the Rochelle area calling these Dark Futures. We've also got the Rio Grande, 1970s, late 1970s. All of these are offered in 3 different road numbers. You guys asked for Kansas City Southern, so we did. Got Kansas City Southern here. Now, something a little bit different with these. These are all DCC ready. They're just standard DC. We've got a special offer on these. We're offering them for a little bit less than we have in the past. It's $116.99. Now, anytime we talk about price, I want to remind you guys that that is basically our MSRP. So the price that you're going to find at your favorite dealer or online retailer is going to be slightly different. It's going to probably be lower than that. So I realize that some of you might think, wow, $116.99. Well, that's what we set as our suggested retail price. That's not necessarily the price that your shop is going to sell these for. Now, we didn't stop there. We've got a couple more here to show you. Norfolk Southern, once again. And United States Army. It's kind of neat. We're offering that in 3 different road numbers. We actually had people asking for Army units, which kind of surprised a lot of us. But you guys were asking for it, so we figured, hey, you know what? We're going to go ahead and offer these. So, a couple of things. Like I said, these are roundhouse. They're not going to have the detail associated with Genesis or Ready to Roll, but a couple of different things. They're good for a starting point for a younger modeler. They're also a good starting point where if you want to do some kit bashing, maybe you want to do a project, you can use one of these. You can detail them however you like. You can use them as a kit bash project, whatever you like. They're perfect for that. Terry, yes, thank you for your comment. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for guys like you that, that we realize there's still folks out there that operate with DC, and not everybody wants or needs a decoder. So we're offering these as DCC ready, which means if you do buy one and later on you do want to convert to DCC, it's not a hard ordeal. There's no soldering, things of that nature. It's just a plug and play type setup. All right. Just kind of going through. And if you got some questions about anything that you're not seeing here, we'll give a little bit of time at the end of the show for questions and answers. All right. I think I've got some more stuff. There's a lot of good stuff this month. Somebody was asking, are we going to do more tank cars? Yes. We're going to go back in time a little bit. These are under the roundhouse line. These are your older style tank cars. And some of them, indicative of something you would have seen in the past. These are not modern in any stretch. These are older cars. And since they're under the roundhouse line, we tend to try to do a little bit more colorful, mainly for the younger modelers. we've got all of these are offered in 3 different road numbers, and they come in 2 singles, or you can get them as one set that includes 3. Um, First one up, we've got the Baker's Chocolate one. That would be perfect for if you have a holiday train running under the tree. We've got the General American Transportation Corporation, Stein Hall, Solufus. We've got a Union Pacific one, and of course a Vulcan Chemicals car. All pretty cool colors, and something that's the younger modelers will probably appreciate. Now remember, the 3-packs always feature a unique road number, so that's it's not just we're taking 2 singles and putting them in a 3-pack. They are all unique, so you have the possibility of building a pretty good sized train by combining the singles with the 3-packs. There's also a savings too on that. If you buy, I'm just going to use our MSRP as an example. If you buy one at a time, it's $37.99, but if you buy the 3-pack, it's $94.99. You get a little bit of a price cut there. And these are also good if you're a modeler that's doing around the transition era and you want to run these on your modules for a club show or something of that nature. It's a perfect way to get that train set up and ready to roll. All right. Delta 9's happy. He says, thanks a lot. Yeah, it really could be. I mean, I'm sure many of us got our start with a Christmas layout, if you will, or a Christmas train set under the tree, and it goes from there. So this is a great way to offer something to the younger modelers and get them interested, give them the bug of model railroading. All right, so here's for the N scale guys. The N scale guys were asking. We didn't just stop with the F89F flat cars and trailers and HO. We're doing them in N scale as well. Now, if you've seen these in N scale, if you're familiar with these, you know how great these operate. They are mainly die-cast metal, so they've got really good weight. Especially in N scale, you want to have that center of gravity lower to the rails, and that's where these excel. They've got great detail, great printing. We're going to be offering these in N scale, just like the HO scale versions, in 1960s, 70s, and 90s versions. We're also offering them, as singles, as you see here, or you can opt to purchase them with a 40-foot trailer. And it's going to be the same roads. We've got the 1960s with the Railco. We've got the 1960s, late 1960s, I should say, Penn Central. And then coming into the 70s, we've got the Rock and we've got Mopac. Now, one thing that bears repeating, and maybe because I'm mainly into N scale, I take it for granted, but if you've not seen one of these in N scale, you really owe it to yourself to take a look at them. The amount of detail and printing and painting on these is phenomenal. When you think about how big that N scale car, even an 89-foot car in N scale is not really all that big compared to its HO brother. But the amount of detail that we put into our detail painting and printing and all of that is just amazing. And these cars just look absolutely just really nice. And if you're into Fremo N or N track, these are perfect for that. And since we are offering them in multiple road numbers, it's real easy for you to make a fast freight with these guys. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again. These are going to come with metal wheel sets and they're body mounted couplers. And then last but not least, we've got those trailers we just talked about. We've got them offered separately. These are N scale. They're offered in 2 different road numbers each. And again, we've got the Rock, the Penn Central, Missouri Pacific, and the Railco. And think about it, if you're into N scale, especially if you're into this era, there's not a lot of 60s and 70s semi trucks and trailers in N scale. There may be a few out there, but they're hard to get. Sometimes they become more collectible than they are more for a modeler, and they get expensive really quickly. So if you're an N-scale guy and you're modeling the 60s and 70s, and even if you don't necessarily need the F89Fs, you can definitely pick up these trailers and set the era of your layout. All right. So that concludes everything that we've got coming out in December. December is going to be a busy month. We're going to go ahead and talk about each one of these products more in detail in following Train Tuesdays. And starting at the beginning of the year, we're going to be talking about these things even in more detail, mainly the Genesis items. We got a few minutes. Let's take a look at your comments and see if you guys have any questions. And then I'm going to let you guys go back to running trains. So let's see what we've got here. And like I said, if I missed your question, feel free to just shoot it out again. Ian, thank you for your order on that CP Rail GP9. Yeah, those, I think I mentioned last week, they should be in stock by the end of January. Let's see. SoCal Railfan, we've done some of those in the past. As far as Jeeps, the BNSF or leasing Jeeps, yeah, we'll probably do some in the future. I'd say probably early to mid next year, though. Daniel says, why no short line schemes in the SW1500? Well, there's two reasons for that, actually. One, we sent out that survey, and the survey was based on what road names you guys would like to see. We got a huge response from that in just a matter of a day. And we looked at all the responses, and we realized there were some road names that we had chosen that were not on your list. And so we went ahead and did the ones that replied to the survey. So I'd say 75%, maybe up to 90% of everything you saw offered on the SW1500s was based on feedback from people that replied to the survey. The other thing too is short lines, depending on what they are, they don't always do well. Their sales are not quite as good as, say, a Class 1. Now, that doesn't mean we won't do that in the future. If we get enough requests or if we do another survey, we can definitely take a look at that survey. And if we get enough requests for a certain short line, we'll certainly do it. That's exactly why we did the undecorateds. If we had not gotten that kind of response from you guys wanting an undeck, we certainly wouldn't have done it. But that's why we're offering the undecks, because of you guys. Let's see. David, you are more than welcome. We appreciate your feedback. Jonathan, let me try to catch you here. My best suggestion for you would be to put through our product suggestion. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on in the background. We don't get to see John and Janet too much because they're so busy developing. So they've got a pretty good pile of stuff that they're working on. And in the coming months, we'll be talking about some of the things they're working on. But if there's something that you haven't seen us talk about, go ahead and send it to our product suggestion email and let our guys see it. All right. Michael, I see your question about, you wanting to know about DCC locomotives ready for sound with the speakers already installed. Just currently the way the factory is set up, and we don't really have a production queue for that. Is it something that we might do in the future? Possibly, but currently, right now, it's just the way the factory is set up. They don't do a production like that. It's a good thought. HO scale Fox body. Okay. So that limits you to 79 to 93. So you got to let me know what error we're looking at. All right, Joel, I'm putting that up there because John needs to take a break and get over to Oak Ridge and see the ginormous N scale layout. He may never go back to Bend. Yeah, for you guys that don't know, I'm not the lone N scaler at Athearn now because John actually does N scale as well. He's well versed in both HO and N. So yeah, maybe he'll check it out, Joel. I don't know. When will the SD70s be released? Well, the ones that we talked about today, they'll be released next January. So January 23. Let's see. Let's see. Late Night says, any Santa Fe Yellow Blue reruns happening, GPs? Not in this release, but we will probably do some more in the future. Coming into next year, of course, we'll be doing some more 4-axle Jeeps. That is a popular paint scheme, so it would not be unheard of for us to do some more of those. Let's see. Adam, I'm looking at your question there. Stay tuned. I don't have anything else right now, but stay tuned. It's a lot of good questions here. Winona says she wants a 91 Fox body. Okay. That was a good year. And a lot of you guys that are modeling the 90s, let us know. If you guys that are having a hard time finding vehicles, it seems to be currently in both scales. It's easy to find one era of vehicles more than another. But if you guys that are modeling the 80s, the 90s, let us know. Are you having a hard time finding vehicles from the 90s? And not just performance cars, but like station wagons, minivans, everyday vehicles, regular sedans, regular pickup trucks. Joel's happy about the SD70 and the ICG colors. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I would have liked to see it. I got to see plenty of those in the Death Star scheme, but it would have been cool to see those in the orange and white. 80s and 90s vehicles are super hard to find and much needed. Okay, thank you for letting us know. It does seem that way. Yep, Derek. Everything that we're talking about today, you can pre-order with your dealer today, and that starts today, and it goes all the way until December 31st. It's a Friday, so you got a little bit over a month. So, and like I said, we're hoping by early next week, all of this stuff will be on our website. Anthony wants to know, can you use the tank cars on a modern day layout? Sure. It's your layout. It's your railroad. You can do whatever you like. Now, there's a saying in a lot of modelers' lives, there's a prototype for everything. And there really is. There's probably a prototype for that. I've seen a early 1900s era steam engines, switch out modern day tank cars that were less than a year old. So things like that happen all the time. And again, if it's your own railroad, you can run whatever you like. Rule number one. Any news on the AC 4400s? Yes, they are hard at work working on those. And before you know it, we're going to be talking about those. Nothing in this release this month, but soon. Let's see. I'm trying to find some folks that I have not gotten. There's a good question from our friend in Iowa. You guys plan to do another run of early challengers? Not right away, because we did offer the challengers earlier this past year. So not right away. We probably will eventually, but not in the near future. Steven's got some requests for some former Conrail stuff. That's a possibility. I would encourage you to use our product suggestion email for that. Cody, no Iowa Interstate in this run. Keep an eye on our social media, because we'll be using those surveys to find out what roads you want. All right, I got time for maybe 2 more questions. And remember, if there's a road that you want to see produced in one of our locomotives, things like that, don't forget our product suggestion email. It's available on our website. So if you're like Zach and you want to see a Main Central tribute locomotive, go to our product suggestion email. All of those comments and suggestions can go to that email, and we are watching them, because again, the SW1500, that release, those roads were based on your input. Evan, that's a good question. Evan wants to know, will the new SW1500 run with a factory-equipped sound feature and a current keeper quick plug? That I don't know. We will talk about the SW1500s in detail in 3 weeks. It'll be about the middle of December. We'll have a Train Tuesday dedicated to those SW1500s, and we'll have some more information for you. David Green, you notice my books. Yeah, that's a railroad modeler's bread and butter right there. And if you think that's a lot, you should see what our developers have. Athearn has a huge library that we draw from. We don't just use the internet. We also use books and photo services, and we also use Railfan magazines. Let's see. Yeah, Evan, pretty much Train Tuesday, every Train Tuesday, there's a theme. The first Train Tuesday that we'll do next week, the 30th of November, we're going to talk about the Genesis SD70 series. We're just going to talk about those. The following week, we'll talk about the other Genesis offerings. And then the third week, that Train Tuesday, we're going to talk about the SW1500s as well as some other ready to roll stuff. So be sure to join us for that. Simon, good question. I like your avatar there. No, I'm not going to redo the show, but here's the cool thing. You're on Facebook. All right, if you're watching me live right now, as soon as I go off the air, if you will, as soon as I end this broadcast, go over to our YouTube channel. Athrun has a YouTube channel. Go over there while you're at it. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. So every time a video like this gets uploaded to our YouTube channel, you can go over there and watch it again. And like I said, as soon as this is over, you can watch it all over again. And you can watch it as many times as you like. Joseph is very happy about the SC70 series. Yes. It's a cool locomotive. It's a really cool locomotive. Joel, I'll take your word on that one. I don't know about that. All right. Well, it looks like we've had our questions here. We've been on for about an hour. Like I said, for all of you guys out there that celebrated the holiday yesterday, I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. We have a lot to be thankful for, especially as model railroaders. We live in an era where we have stuff that previous generations couldn't even imagine. We live in an era now where we can run our railroad layout with an iPhone and Android. We can even run it with a simulated a throttle that looks just like a throttle that came from an EMD locomotive. Things that we take for granted now, we couldn't have 10, 20 years ago. And we like to be a part of that, especially with our Genesis and Ready to Roll line and introducing younger modelers with the Roundhouse line. So again, we a lot to be thankful for. I hope when you guys go into the shop this weekend to work on your layout or work on your latest locomotive or freight project, that you remember how fortunate we really have in the model railroading world and just in general. So with that, I want to leave you all some time to do some modeling and go out there, have some fun, be kind to others, be safe, stay healthy, and above all, high greens. I'll see you on Tuesday. Take care, guys.